Welcome, everyone, to today's session of Fall 2023 series of Tuesday Times Roundtable. Global Migration, Surprising Patterns and Unexpected Motivations. My name is Natalia Bocci, your graduate assistant in charge of social media and communications here at the Office of Global Learning Initiatives. TTR is our flagship discussion series that brings together multiple perspectives on current global issues and trends. You can learn more about TTR, watch past recordings, or come back to reference this one at go.fiu.edu/TTR. As we engage in today's session, we ask that everyone please use the mics. We have roaming mics for the audience so we can hear your contributions on the recording. If you haven't already, please take a moment to sign in. Medallion students, take a screenshot of your sign-in to include on your points log for this TTR. If you'd like to learn more about the opportunities at the Office of Global Learning Initiatives include our Medallion, Pre-Score Prep, and Fellowship programs, please check out our website at goglobal.fiu.edu/students, follow us on Instagram at goglobalfiu, or come by our advisor drop-in hours. TTR is always grounded in global issues and trends and is always linked to an article where you can learn more. You can read the article for this week's session at go.fiu.edu TTR 1017. FIU provides anyone with an @fiu.edu email address free digital access to New York Times. If you haven't already, you can activate your subscription at accessnyt.com. Our session today is led by Associate Teaching Professor and Associate Director of Undergraduate Studies at SIPA, Professor Marcie Washington. Professor Washington earned her master's degree in International Affairs in the College of Social Sciences at Florida State University and her PhD in Conflict Analysis and Resolution from Nova Southeastern University. Her research interests are diverse, but most of the time she focuses on topics related to conflict and cooperation, international and domestic migration, and transnational and domestic security. She regularly offers courses that lend attention to the nexus between conflict, power, agency, promotion, and protection of human rights and security. Please join me in giving me a warm welcome to Dr. Marcie Washington.
Hello, everyone. I thank you guys for being here today. Thank you, Natalia. Truly appreciate you. And also I wanted to thank Ms. Michelle Zadivar for actually inviting me here today. And I'm looking forward just to interacting with all of you here today. Now, what I'm going to be doing, and of course I probably have misplaced it already, knowing me, the infamous clicker. Oh, you have it. Okay. Sorry. It migrated away. Caught it? Okay, come on, you guys. Yes, I'm corny. Deal with it, right? Okay. So when we're talking about migration, right, before we go into a little bit of the complexities and the dimensions of things, from politics to language to what would you do if you had to leave, I think it's prudent for us to understand some of the basics. Because why? I always tell my students and my family that politicians, as well as media, they get it wrong. And we want you to get it right. Now, before I continue on, because I know we're starting a little bit later, if someone can make sure I'm marked that time at about 1:20, right? So we make sure we are almost near the end and make sure you guys get out here to get to class, okay? I want to make sure we give respect and homage due to that and all that space, okay? Now, when you're thinking about this course, I want to just remind you of why I'm here today, which I love about global learning and what they're trying to achieve. Specifically, when you think about this last part, it says global learning enables. That's a big part, right? Enables. It actually gives you critical thinking skills, abilities, for every student to engage with others, to find connections among divergent perspective. These connections are the bedrock foundation, just like a house, right? Which we all learn to create, innovate, equitable and sustainable solutions for our interconnected human and natural communities. I want to make sure we remind ourselves of what global learning is about and why we are in this space today. Because when you leave this classroom or leave FIU, and when I'm in my hoverboard walker chair, like I tell my students, and I'm waiting for somebody to create that for me, let me know when, because I need it. I want to make sure you guys go out of here with actual real knowledge that you can engage in a true conversation based on facts, not on what Uncle Day said. Yes, I did say Uncle Day. All right? So when we think about today, these are some key questions we're just going to discuss. We're going to go into what is migration, who migrates, why do people migrate, but what does it maybe as a coping strategy, right? Where do people migrate? When do they migrate? And why is migrating a cross-cutting issue? And then thinking about things next. Understanding migration means for you, ladies and gentlemen, it's meaning understanding the very basis. Oh, get back to the mic. Get back to the mic. Can y'all hear me? Everything's good? So getting back to the foundation of human beings and their migration patterns. Humans have moved since the dawn of time, whenever that is, from the continent of Africa. Humans are like bees. They're like birds. They fly. As much as we like to limit people's movement by sovereign territory, the reality is people move for opportunity, move for safety, move for family, and they will continue to move. And we're still moving when? Today, right? So when we think about the number of people that are living in the world today, just put in perspective, I like to give numbers as we prepare for what's coming up. As of, based on World Meter, we have 8.1 billion people in the world today. As of last week, right? That was last week Friday, by the way. I didn't do it today for you, but it's as of last week Friday. Now, when we think about movement of people, I'm just curious. Think about this question. Do we or do you have the freedom of movement? Yes, no, maybe so? Or are you limited in your movement? Tell me. Alicia, I think I saw your hand go up, and I'm calling names if I know them, okay? Go ahead. Oh, 1 minute. I see a mic coming for you, okay?
Just reflecting on my experience, I think I do have more freedom of movement now that I have a U.S. passport than when I did some years ago when I only had a Cuban passport. So I feel like right now, sometimes I don't even have to consider if I have to go to another country if I need a visa, because most of the time I don't even need a visa. I do need the money and all of that, but compared to other people that don't have the same passport, they are more restricted in that freedom of movement.
Interesting. What did she just do? She contextualized movement based on a what? Piece of paper that she must have in her hand. But otherwise, she doesn't think she may have as much movement. I don't know if you heard the question now. I didn't say do you have how much movement you have or the level of capacity you have. I said, do you have the freedom of movement? Well, this is the answer. The answer is yes. Everyone has the right to the freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state. Everyone has the right to leave any country, including its own, and to return to his country. He or she has the right as well, ladies and gentlemen, to asylum. Y'all like asylum? Yeah, you think you know that word, but hold up. I'm going to define it for you soon. Everyone has the right to seek and enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. This right may not be invoked in the cases of persecution, generally arising from non-political crimes or from the acts contrary to the purpose and the principles outlined in the United Nations. Furthermore, when you think about the Article 13 and the right to movement, this also means that you also have the right to nationality. Did I just say that? Yeah. You have the right to nationality. Everyone has the right from it, and you cannot be arbitrarily deprived of it. Y'all like, wait a minute, Dr. Washington, that is nice and pretty. But guess what? Your colleague who answered that question, she's still saying, yeah, okay. But what's reality? Let's continue on with the documents. When you think about the ICCPR, to further add on our knowledge about the right to movement, we all have the right to travel as well. These are documents based in fact, right? and you can choose where you want to live. It reinforces your right to the freedoms. Let's add on. Furthermore, when you think about your right to movement, this is reinforced further by the 2000 Sustainable Development Goals. In the 2000 Sustainable Goals, it advises you that you have the freedom of movement and you should not be limited from the opportunity, and you should have all the opportunity needed to support your endeavors. And these sustainable goals that we have here, the 17 that are there, they all focus on not just general individuals, but you as a migrant as well, and the right to mobility. I'm one of those professors, by the way, that like to provide proof. But also, I like to tell my students to look it up. Don't believe anything I say. I like to say, call me a liar. Look it up, right? That's the fun part. But to also give you further evidence, these are other frameworks that is in the Sustainable Development Goals that advises you, you have the right to mobility and migration. And furthermore, the right to have basic needs met. Food, water, shelter, security. Nationality. Now, when you think about your right to movement, and yes, I know y'all still saying, right? Is she telling the truth? Yeah, I am. But in reality, when we think about things in reality, do you really have the right to movement from sovereign territory to another sovereign territory without that paperwork? Yes, it is limited, but you still have the right. That's what we're getting to, okay? Now, further when you get to this right to movement, I want to go ahead and now ask another question for someone else. And I don't know who has the microphone. Someone over here can tell me. What does the freedom of movement mean to you, though? What does it look like? What does it allow, maybe? Or does it allow anything at all? Tell me. Throw your hands up. Don't be shy. Over here it can be available, too. I'll give it to somebody over here, too. Hey, young man is up in the back. What does the freedom of movement look like or mean to you? What does it allow for? Hey.
Hey, my name is Andres Avila. So
Okay.
first, for me, I think it means like the privilege to just, as article, as you said, Article 13 of the Declaration of Human Rights, you could leave your own country and you could also return to your own country. But I think it depends on like where you come from and how powerful that nation is, you know, because again, a piece of paper or document has so much power nowadays that even like, for example, the European passports are stronger than the American passport. So you have a lot of freedom within those passports, but some other countries you need a visa and that takes months, or even some citizens don't even have a passport because of conflicts, so they're considered stateless. And they have like no freedom at all.
Love it. He said to us simply that, adding on to the argument earlier, that the notion of what freedom of movement mean to you, it's going to be, reinforcing the argument, relative based on the country in which you are residing in. And do you have access to that document? Furthermore, let's add on. The freedom of movement mean to individuals maybe the opportunity to get education beyond their borders, to get education in another state, to travel to meet family members, to gauge an opportunity for a job, to maybe meet up with a partner for future relationships, to send their kids away or meet their grandkids or family members beyond their borders. That's what the freedom of movement means. But also, does it allow for true freedom of movement? Because that little thing called sovereignty. Sovereignty was something that was established in that little document that was signed in this place called the Peace of Munster, Ozenbark. It was signed in Munster, Ozenbark. And the document is actually called the Peace of Westphalia. Yes, it's still there, by the way. Every time I talk about Munster, Ozenbark, my students actually say when they go to Germany, like, I saw it, Dr. Washington. It's a very small building. But that sovereignty guided and it provided states with the opportunity to dictate what occurs within their borders. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm an international student from Germany, and I think like the freedom of movement is like still really limited. Since like you say, like the freedom of movement is like to go home and like visit family or like send kids abroad, like what my family did to me. Not did to me, I choose to be here. But I think it's like limited because of its cost. Like when I'm flying home to Germany, like one ticket is like about $1,500 just like one way. So I think there's definitely like a limitation of like the freedom of movement just because like it's super pricey.
Yep, I agree. The fact of the matter, as we already noted here, having free movement is a right. We acknowledge that. But the freedom of movement is not actually reality for the majority of the world. Not only are borders limiting their opportunity for movement, but also situations within conflict, disasters, right? Crime, a lack of paperwork. These are reality. But even still, let's continue on. If you had the opportunity for the freedom of movement, let's just say where people are moving. When we think about the movement of people, how are they moving? This is only advising you that people move from what? Rural to rural areas, right? Urban to urban, rural to urban, right? From urban to rural, and then also internationally and domestically. People are moving if they have the opportunity to do so. But when you think about the movement of people internationally, people are moving everywhere, as this map is indicating to you. When you think about the movement of people, I need you to understand that in 2020 alone, of the number of people that have moved, at least 36 million of them were children alone. Y'all like, oh, they must be moving with their family. Not always, and most times not. How are they moving? What safety are they being apprised of? Now, let me ask you guys a couple of questions, and I want you to do me a favor and get ready to stand if it's okay. You ready? For those of you that know someone who's ever migrated, domestically or internationally or internally, please stand up. Internationally or domestically. Stay standing up if you have ever migrated. Have you or do you know anyone who has migrated for economic opportunities? Have you or do you know anyone who has migrated because of a lack or limited or debilitated infrastructure, which resulted into them migrating because of security or economic opportunity? Have you or do you know anyone who has migrated because of safety, natural hazard, or environmental issues linked to climate change? The majority of you are still standing up. Migration matters. That's what I want you to do. Take a seat. And I wanted you to do this to make sure you are reminded of that it affects us. But it doesn't just affect us, but it also affects those around us. And it affects how we view the world. It affects how we behave in this world. So when we think about who migrates, I think we can all answer this simply, right? What does it say? Everyone. From every level of capacity, everyone migrates. Now, the next part is not only the paperwork, let's add on. Does everyone have the capacity to travel by airplane or train? No. Simply, I want you guys to imagine not having the capacity to buy a plane ticket or a train ticket or a bus ticket. But you have to leave where you reside because of food or water insecurity, because your family is dealing with, for instance, desertification, or dealing with, for instance, a hurricane, tsunami, or simply because your freedom levels are limited. Imagine not having the capacity to move. When we think about the article, I believe they shared the article with you guys. That article illustrated to you a number of movement of individuals moving by what we other call left and right, our feet, going through various terrains just to get to a place of safety or opportunity for themselves or their family members. That's how passionate and hungry they are to simply persevere. The question for you is, have you ever done that, or a family, or are you willing to put the work in to get there? When you sleep in your bed tonight, think about how many people will not have the opportunity to put their head on a pillow because they're simply traveling to get to safety. And these are some illustrations from that article. Individuals that are traveling from various spaces, from the one to the left, all the way from Afghanistan. When Taliban took over, they are still traveling to simply get here, crossing waterways, crossing deserts, just to get to America or some place of safety. With their backpack, their kids, traveling, just trying to figure out, will I get there and will I be received? That's the other part, right? Will I be received? Now, at the end, remember that 8.1, right? That's overall right now, right? When we think about the numbers, billion, 8.1 billion. Now, let's think about this number. At the end of 2022 alone, 108.4 million people worldwide were forcibly displaced as a result of persecution. That doesn't include other people that was not because of persecution, does it? Right? Because of human rights violations, or because they were disturbing, supposedly, public disorder. This represents an increase of at least 19 million people. 19 million compared to the end of 2021. Put it in perspective. That's more than the population of Ecuador, the Netherlands, and even Somalia. More than that alone. It is the largest increase between the years ever. This means literally, ladies and gentlemen, more than 1 in every 74 people on earth have been forcibly displaced and had to flee. How many individuals walking across FIU right now is that 1 of 74? It could be you. It could be your friend. Furthermore, when you think about forcible displacement, yes, I'm still with the numbers because numbers matter. Facts matter, right? You need to understand what forced displacement means. It's a term that means that you are involuntarily or coerced in respect to movement away from your home. These are the people that are moving. Women, men, children, broken down by population. Of those numbers of people that are moved, let's add on. Forcibly displaced. What about the people that are not international migrants, but they're instead internally displaced people? This number is rapidly increasing because of escalating conflict and violence and disasters around the world. This includes what's going on in the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, Somalia, South Sudan, Nigeria. I can continue go on, Ukraine, and even right now, as we know, what's going on in respect to the Hamas-Israel conflict. People are being displaced. This is just the number from 2022. What is that number going to look like at the beginning of 2024? Migrants, by definition, understand the actual terms now. Migrants, by definition, are individuals that have moved. Some people say they have to move from one country to another. Some say simply moving within domestically. Now, when you're thinking about migrants, let's make sure we understand who's who, okay? Yes, it matters. Well, who is actually a refugee? This term that is being used loosely in media and by politicians. Well, this definition or this term you see up there from the 1951 convention that was reinforced, by the way, or expanded in the 1967 protocols relating to the status of refugee. A refugee is a migrant that has crossed borders, but this individual, ladies and gentlemen, they are due to what? Owing to a well-founded fear of what? Persecution. For reasons of, help me out, race. Add on. And is what? Unable or owing to some fear, unwilling to avail himself of the protection of that country. Or who, not having a nationality and being outside of the country of his former habitual residence as a result of events, is unable to, or owing to such fear, is unwilling to return to it. That is the definition of a refugee. But you have to be conferred refugee status, ladies and gentlemen. Did you take that in? You're conferred refugee status by the country in which you're going to. So what are you before that? You're an asylum seeker. You're an asylum seeker. These are individuals that are trying to still get protection. And then further, another definition, remember, internally displaced person is someone that has not left their country, but they're still within the territory, so they still have to be protected by maybe the sovereign state that is also what? Persecuting them. But they don't have the opportunity to leave. Taking this in, I'm going ahead and skipping that because there's actually an activity I want to do with you as well at the end. When you're looking at this right here on the far right, I need you to understand the majority of the refugees in the world today actually reside in actually low and middle income countries. The majority of them. These are countries that is already strained in respect to their political, maybe, economic, and our social environment. They may have already had food insecurity issues, water insecurity issues, but they're providing for more support. Thinking about these internally displaced persons, looking at this variable right there, this chart, I want you guys to take a look at it. These are the individuals that are displaced because of climate and disaster. 6 out of 10 disasters in the world today displace individuals. 6 out of 10 individuals are displaced. And this is because of floods, storms, and so on and so forth. This is a 45% increase from what you're seeing right now, by the way, since 2021. So that means 98% of the disasters have resulted into displacement. Climate change matters. This is a heat map. Majority of the world today, as you know, because you're living in Florida, are dealing with a doubly time increase amount of heat. The extreme heat is affecting all of us. How is this being compounded in spaces that are fragile? How is this pushing people to migrate and leave? Now let's think about, go backwards. Let's look at this disaster chart. Now I want you to look at this variable, this picture, and now I want you to think about this when I add on the conflict layer to it. When you think about conflicts in the world today, and then you think about the disasters, and when it comes to how are they doubly layered on top of each other and making the situation more compounding? Climate change is what we call a conflict multiplier. And it prompts people to move, increasingly so, when they're already dealing with a fragile situation within their own environment that they're in. Data matters. If you want to look into this further, you go ahead and look into IDMC as well as the UNHCR reports and UN stats. They are all there for you and available online. So understanding not just the data matters, but also understanding terms matter. Just to remind you of a few things. Refugees, where are they? Outside of their country. Where are they fleeing? Danger. Do they return? If they return, they are in danger, and it's called refoulement. You're not supposed to send individuals back that have refugee status, and they are in danger for persecution. Asylum seekers outside of his or her country, reasons for leaving, we are not clear yet because they have not been given the refugee status. We don't know. Internally displaced, they are still where? In their country of concern. And they still may be persecuting within. Now, one more. An irregular migrant, right? Or an unauthorized migrant, or as some people like to say, undocumented, or more controversial, the illegal migrant. Who are these individuals? These are individuals that may have not had the opportunity to go through the paperwork or get access, or maybe their country does not have the same system to be able to get documents to go to the new country in which they want to go to. Because why? Their state has a fragile government or a failed government, so that office may not simply be open or they not have the capacity to do so. Are you clear on this? But because of their persecution, because of their safety concerns, they have left. So they're willing to be, in many respects, irregular migrants, immigrants, just to get an opportunity to get in. When people say they're illegal, you really don't never think about maybe why they are undocumented. What is going on in their homeland that prompts them to leave so quickly? And you assume every country have the same capacity of providing opportunity or going through the documents to get that visa. That is in the United States of America or in Europe. That is not the case. Please understand that. Then when you think about these people, there's another group you got to think about, displaced persons. These displaced persons that are simply what we call stateless. Wait a minute, were you saying that some people don't have nationality at all, even though I told you in the beginning that nationality is supposed to be conferred upon everyone? Yes. Stateless individuals do not have documents at all. So can they get a library card? Can they get a license? Can, in some respects, they even get housing if they don't have the documentation to buy it or get a banking account? Stateless persons numbers, we never have the 100% accurate, just like refugees and IDPs. The numbers are constantly going up. They're constantly in a state that is precarious. What is their level of protection? Just because they're human right, there should. But in reality, they don't. Now, when you think about these individuals that are refugees, that are internally displaced, asylum seekers, irregular immigrants, stateless persons, you need to now ask yourself, what is going on that maybe prompts them to leave? maybe they don't have the same level of equity and access because of their gender. This is by exclusion right here. Or maybe they are living in a country, but they had a child, but their child, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? Can't get a nationality. You know why? Because their mother cannot confer nationality upon their child. By raise of hand, how many guys knew that? It's still going on in the world today. Now, even though, of course, you see Bahamas, and then you're going to see Benin on there, I believe, not Bahamas on there particularly, I want you to know that as of this year, Bahamas is actually updated, and they are in full compliance now. Just wanted to go ahead and give that update on that one. So, and also when we think about who else is in full compliance, we need to also understand that when we think about who else is in full compliance in respect to providing opportunity for everyone, that would also include, I believe that's Nepal and maybe Malaysia. Well, not Malaysia. Take that back. Not Malaysia. They have some issues still. Okay. People are moving because of poverty. $1.90, ladies and gentlemen. How many of you guys can live off $1.90 a day? Raise your hand. You can do it. You're excited about it, I'm sure. Right? This is the space and people are dealing with around the world. People are dealing with conflict. This is prompting them to move. This are the push factors. Furthermore, when we get a little bit closer to home, ladies and gentlemen, I want to now think about something in your own back door, Mexico. Not only is it a fragile state, people in that triangle area, right, coming up, but they're also dealing with the issues of crime and gun when it comes to the cartel. When they're leaving, why are they leaving? Are they feeling safe? Look at this. At least 2,000 guns are smuggled into Mexico from who? The United States daily. 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 Mexico homicide rate is 2.6 deaths per 100,000 people, resulting into 34,000 victims. This equates to what? 94 homicides per day on an average in 2021. Over 2/3 of homicides since 2015 have been a result of gun violence. In 2021 alone, 71.3% of the homicides were for males, 56 due to gun violence from females. My question for you is this. You're in Mexico. You're dealing with a debilitated government. You're dealing with food insecurity, job insecurity. Then now on top of that, you got to be worried about crime and corruption. You have 2 kids. Are you willing to stay? These are the questions they're asking themselves. When you think about forced displacement, I need you to understand that even though I may have brought them all separately, they all have a cross-cutting ties upon each other. They all are layered upon each other, and they all influencing and compounding the issue that prompts people to move. And they overlap, and they reinforce. Pause for a second right there. Now, this is what they're dealing with to prompt them to move, right? Now, the question for you is this. Time check, please. When you get to your place of arrival, what are you willing to deal with? And what are you about to deal with? Are you ready for it? Take a look. I'm giving you an opportunity to take a look and read. There's a common word that you see throughout this whole thing. Do y'all see that word that keep coming up? What's that word? You. 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 You people. It's actual comments. about potential misunderstandings and prejudice, I need you to now think about stereotypes. And how is that playing a role in politicizing migration and actually influencing how you view the world and you view immigrants coming in? And how it perpetuates myths. And asking yourself, where do these myths come from? And how it's being reinforced through the media, cartoons, television, political pundits, family members. There's a vast debate around the topic about immigration. Can we all agree on that? You're in the United States of America, you're here, right? Unfortunately, when it happens, when we think about this, it has played a significant role in reinforcing stereotypes. You is reinforcing that in-group, out-group dynamic. When you're reinforcing this you, in-group, out-group dynamic, how is that influencing your view of the other population? And how are these myths being reinforced? Got a question for you. How are you seeing these myths reinforced in your daily life right now? And how is it being politicized? Anybody and everybody. Oh, new voice? Hey. And then I come over here. And then, was there a hand up over here too? No? So let's go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, is this one? Yeah, a lot of people, I feel like a lot of Americans see, immigrants when they come to America as lesser. So they politicize this to kind of put them down in a way. And they don't really appreciate the culture that is being brought to America. So, and a lot of specifically the right, they kind of make these policies, that kind of, what's the word? Look down on a specific culture. So they'll kind of require a lot of immigrants to speak English before they even start to working and, just a lot of things. And, they see immigrants as housekeepers and that's the only thing they can do, when in reality there are a lot of other opportunities in America that can kind of make them immigrants feel more at home.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Are you saying immigrants can have other jobs beside service sector jobs?
Yeah.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? That's their role. Know your role. What did you say? Speak English. I don't know what you're saying. You're in the United States of America. Yeah, I've heard this. But what you didn't think about is maybe those individuals, when they got here, they didn't have the opportunity yet to actually learn the English language, and or they don't have the capacity just yet to actually be integrated fully. Or simply put, maybe they do speak English, but you're assuming otherwise. I always love that part, right? Oh, I know they're talking about me. You don't know that? That's always funny. Right? Hey, next person was right here. Kathy?
Well, the political and social issues, the issues with society and the negative perception of migrants have also really affected the social sphere, because even amongst friends of different races, they think it's okay to enforce or push these negative stereotypes onto their friends or their family members, which truly affects the individual as well. I'm not I didn't migrate internationally, but I am of Colombian and Cuban descent. And I had a friend who's no longer my friend tell me to go stand behind a border, go stand behind a wall during the light of the 2020 Trump elections. And he was a white man. And it was I'm not even a migrant, and you are forcing these negative stereotypes on people who are simply trying to live their lives based on their nationality or their ethnic background.
Can I also? Oh. Can I add something too?
Yeah, please. Hey.
Hi. So I just wanted to add because I lived, like, I'm a migrant and I'm coming from Hungary. I'm only been in the States for a year. And before that, I lived in Switzerland too. So I've been a migrant twice, I guess. And I feel like it's also many times really racist and prejudicial based on how you look. Because many times in Switzerland, they would tell me like, oh, well, we don't like migrants. And I'm like, I'm a migrant. And they're like, well, not like you. Like, you're an expat. Because if you're white, you are an expat. But if you're not, then you're a migrant. Like, that was the perception there.
Yeah.
And I feel like many times here, too, you know, if I say, oh, I'm from Europe, then it's like I'm the same if someone was coming from Mexico. Like, we're the same. We just came here and we're studying, working, whatever. But there is more like a racial prejudice against people who don't look like someone from, I mean, I don't know who is someone from America look like? Like, how do they look like? They
I
all
love
look
that
like
you
all
said
of us.
that, right? The racial part of it, it allows and it actually reinforces the borders of the in-group, out-group dynamic. You look like us. Come on, you can come with me. What? You don't look like me. No, you stay over there. Come on, let's go, right? It reinforces that in-group, out-group, and thereby it says that because you look like me, because I identify with you, you're okay. But when you don't look like me, that means you are less than. You are a barbarian, for instance, right? Think about this visual right here I just gave you guys in respect to Ivanka Trump and Michelle Obama. Reinforcing stereotypes, right? Or the very notion as you just brought up when it came to, let me go backwards, to the color part, right? This was Dove soap. This just happened. For those of you that remember this just happened a few years ago. On the right-hand side. And it reinforces another soap that was back in the day that was called Peer soap that says, I'm going to clean the darkest places in the world, and you had a baby in a tub and the baby was getting lighter. Continuation of more of the same of these myths and stereotypes that reinforces how you behave. If you can make it brief for me, and then here, and I got one more thing for you guys.
Yeah, media, I guess, like, impacts a lot about what's going on with, I guess, the image of a refugee and immigrants. I saw this a lot when I was studying abroad in Madrid, and that's just because, you know, I am white passing, but the school I went to, like 70% of it was majority international. So once you go outside of that university, you do see the experiences of what it's like to be not just, you know, as they say, like, not just white passing, but being around people of color.
Nice. Love it. Love it. Reinforcing. If you make it, all right, thank you. Make it brief for me.
I also find it interesting that stereotypes don't really only come from Americans or people who lived in this country. It also comes from migrants themselves. I have found a lot of, I'm going to speak from my experience, a lot of Venezuelans, because I'm Venezuelan, want to stop more Venezuelan refugees from coming into the country because they say that they're uneducated and they will have a bad view on them. Not only that, I know Cubans also say it a lot too. But it is interesting how there's a point once you're a migrant and you're in this country and you have papers, you start to prejudice against your own people that are going through the same things that you went through.
Wait a minute. They identify with another group now.
Yeah.
They don't identify with those people, you people.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Last brief, and I want to get to one more thing. Thank you. Very nice comment. I appreciate
It was
it.
just a sentence to her comment, that regardless of whether that group accepts them or not. Because you said that they identify with that other group, that bigger group.
Yeah.
But sometimes I don't even think that bigger group.
Say that again?
That bigger group that they think that they are integrated into, I don't think sometimes even that group accepts them. They just perceive that they do.
But they identify. The key word is identify, and they want those same value systems. I love it. Now, I want you guys let me switch to something else because, you know, these media images are real and they're still out there. Even the one on top actually was just out in 2021. This was out just actually a few years ago as well. Even though I may show you something about the anti-German, be mindful. I'm only showing you that evolution and history continues its own. People continue doing the same thing over and over to reinforce an in-group, out-group dynamic, which thereby reinforces your persecution of another group. reinforces your behavior toward another group in violence. May it be structural violence, cultural violence, or direct violence. I challenge you to look those up. Now, real quick in the next 5 minutes that we have, I'm now going to read something to you. And I want you to take out a piece of paper, please, as you get ready. It's going to be 5 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to flee. It's time to flee. Get ready. You got your book, you got your suitcase. I'm about to start. Here's the scenario. Dad works as a journalist. And by the way, I pulled this time to flee activity. It's actually available for you as well on Amnesty International if you want to look it up. Let's set the scene. Make sure you think about the facts that I'm about to bring to you. Okay. Dad works as a journalist at the local newspaper. Mom is a mechanic. They have recently had a baby. They have a boy and a girl at school. I am one of them. Granny is in a wheelchair and housebound since her stroke. Uncle Ali, who is very religious, was a political prisoner for a number of years. He walks with difficulty and limps since he was in prison. Mom and Dad have an old car, a very old car. Dad has been a leading figure in the local journalist trade union and organization that protects the rights and interests of the workers. The situation in our country has been changing quite dramatically recently. 2 months ago, a military coup took over. There was a lot of gunfire on the streets. Tanks and armored cars were everywhere. We were scared. A lot of people were killed and others were arrested. A curfew has been imposed and everyone must now stay indoors after dark. The military rulers have taken over the TV and the radio. It is very hard to know the reality and what's going on around me, so we are in the dark as well. A month ago, Dad was told that the new military leaders, have arrested a number of people. Others, including religious figures, politicians, trade unionists, and have simply gone missing. We don't know where they are. And my dad is a part of the trade union, and he's a journalist. A fortnight ago, an article appeared in a local newspaper. Underneath a drawing, it was a skull in a coffin and was a long list of people in the town that were said to be enemies of the state. Both Dad name and Uncle Al name was listed as actually enemies of the state. Last week, soldiers came to the school looking for the dinner lady's husband at the school I go to, the lunch lady's husband. He was not there, so they took the dinner lady away and her children as well. 3 days ago, a note was pushed under our family's door, and it says that we will get you, friends of the motherland. Yesterday, some children at the school said that their snatch squads took their friends and their family, and they were arrested, and now they're missing as well. Members of my dad's trade union was taken away. We now have to flee. We have literally 10 minutes to get out. I can only take 5 items. List the 5 items that you would take. We are now traveling to the country neighboring us. Who gets to go? List your 5 items and then advise me who gets to go in my parents' 4-seating car. You have 2 minutes because you got 8 minutes to get out the house. Time moves fast. You're now home for only a minute and a half. You now have 45 seconds. Mom and dad is rushing you. What do you take? They're pushing out the door. You have 15 seconds. List my last one. I got to hurry. I hear firing. I hear noise down the street. They are coming. My parents are putting us in a pursuit. Let's go. Wait a minute. I have to take one item off my list. I cannot take 5. Which item will I take off? Take it off. We are in the car. You took it off. We are traveling. We are now at the borders. The Border Patrol is now looking at what we have. I'm now going to ask only one person to tell me what 5 items they chose. Raise your hand, please.
You want me? Hello? You want me to say the 5 items or the 4?
You're 4.
I said money, my passport or my ID, underwear, and medicine.
Okay, great. One more person, since we got a moment. Young man, thank you.
My family, my money, my dog, my cell phone, and my personal photos.
Can I get one more? Young lady in the front, right here. You can no, right here. Pass it to her in the front, right here. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I said birth certificate, passport, social security if it applies, and spare clothes.
Many of you have chosen items that you can actually have in respect to providing documentation. But guess what? You're in a country that does not have a birth certificate requirement. You are also living in a country that does not have a visa requirement. We assume that many countries have these document requirements, but they do not. You're now at the border, you and your dog. Will you get across? And how will you prove that you and your family are persecuted? You guys, thank you. It was a wonderful being here, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the future, okay? Thanks. Oh. These are things just to think about, you guys, if you lift the class. Think about it.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you need to leave because you have classes, just please quietly leave. But no one is kicking us out, so if you'd like to stay and have conversation with us, you feel free to stay. And please join us again next week when we welcome Florida Immigrant Coalition partners for their session, Social and Economic Impacts of Immigrant Communities in Florida. And please give another warm round of applause for Professor Washington. Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.